to do with the World Cup qualifiers between our country and Ghana. We'll try as much as possible to the first half might be missed, or some of you I know you can somewhere, but please just try as much as possible to be a and class. Very important to be a concept to be explaining, and there's something we started from the very beginning of our class, and that was trying to concatenate a particular string with different symbols, and we did that in the last class. So I said something in the last. I said in the next one we're going to be looking at two concepts: that's the len function and also the enumerate kind of function as well in Python, and try to find a way to fix that particular error in which we had. Not that it showed an error, but we want it to be fixed. We want us to last symbol character at some point. So we're going to go through two concepts tonight. Try as much as possible to rush out and make it happen. And let's get it started. So let me share my screen soon. And you can see my screen now. So next thing we're going to do, now I'm going to connect the collab. And we can see what we did in the last class. We printed it out and it gave us.
Sorry, sir. Good afternoon. Good evening. I can't see your screen, sir.
Okay, very soon you'll be seeing it. I think so.
Please be a little bit more audible. Be more audible a bit.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay, good. All right. So I'll try as much as possible. I think the headset I'm using is quite different from the ones I've been using. Okay, so I'll try as much as possible to be audible enough. All right, so let's go there. So far, let me run this particular cell. So this thing we want to put here, we added Adrian then. So let's just stick with Adrian at some point. So Adrian. You can see it printed Adrian, but the condition here we had was we're having dashes in between the letters, but we don't want it to come at the end of this dash. It's a very popular question they normally do ask. So please try as much as possible to let's go through the len function and also the enumerate function tonight. And after that, we can use that to solve this particular concept. Okay, so let's create a cell. And before we do that, let's assume that we just want to introduce a new concept, and that's for you to just understand the len and also enumerate. So what is len? So in Python, for sequence types, we have strings, we have lists, and so on and so forth. To get the len of that object, we use the len function, and it's always indicated as len open.
Please, I still can't see your screen.
Okay, I want to confirm if other people can see my screen.
Yeah, we can see it. We were showing before.
I can see yours.
Everybody can see me. So maybe you should log out and come back in. Okay, so what we're going to do, let's go to the len function. For example, we want to check the len, just use len. And by the time we check the len, let's use Python. Please mute yourself. So if we check the len of Python here, we run it, shift enter, you see that it's going to show us 6. So the len of the characters inside this particular Python here is what? 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if we decide to keep a space in between the Python and the string, the quotes, the open and close quotes, we see that at this particular point is going to be 7 because a space is also a character. Kind of. So please confirm that you can still hear me. So what we're going to hello, can you?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. So let's create a series of maybe a list of characters, a list of numbers and characters. We'll just say list, can just say list, just the list of let's say numbers, just numbers underscore letters. It could also be letters. So let's just use this and create a list. By the time we do that, remember a list comes with a square bracket. So let's give numbers 1, 2, 3. And decide to use definitely it's going to be a character. Let's use letters. Let's use like G. Also, and also let's use H. So if we try to find the length of this particular, let's just use let me just copy this out and let's see what we have. I copied well. So by the time we copy this out, so copy this and press it here, we want to call it out. So you can see what happens here. You can see this is a list and it's showing here 1, 2, 3, G, H. But if you want to find the length of this, we're going to find the length of this, we're going to see that definitely going to be worth 5 because there are 5 items in that particular list. So the next thing we just want to look at is let's ask a user to put an input, and by the time the user gets an input, we're going to find the length of that particular input. So user, please, at any point you do not understand me, you can always raise up your hand or just put on your mic and say you have a question, because as I'm sharing my screen, I may not see that your hand is raised. So we're going to ask the user input.
So I have a question.
Okay.
So the last example you showed, these numbers underscore letters equals to 1, 2, 3, GH. Please, what does that one do?
Which particular one, sir?
List underscore numbers underscore letters.
Okay, that's the name of a variable I'm defining. I'm defining a variable. It could be anything.
Okay.
Yeah, so the other side, the values, I will just be making it descriptive enough. You see, list numbers, letters, mean that this is a list of what numbers and letters. You can see 1, 2, 3, G, and H.
Okay. All right. Fine. Thank you.
All right. So we ask the user to give an input, and that input is going to be, we can just decide to say, please, and just say, please. So say, please enter. Please enter. You can just say, enter a text. Enter a text to do what? To get its length. Please enter a text to get the length. Okay. So by the time you get the length, what will you do with it? So let's see. Definitely keep a space and let's make it user friendly. So the next thing we're going to do is what? I'm trying to make this thing the way that okay. So the first thing is to get the user input, get the length of the text. So anything that the user gives, they're going to define another variable and get that particular length of text. So length, we're going to define another maybe a particular variable name and say equals to length of what a user is going to put on line 1, which is going to be user underscore what input. So by the time you do this, anytime you print what, you print the length, which you have already defined length. Anytime you print that length, it's going to show the length of what that particular input from the user. So if you run this now, let's see. So it's asking for a text from the user. So I can decide to put anything at all. Let me just use data science. Data science. We enter and see, please enter a text to get the length. So we add data science. You see that 12 DA, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. The space is also a character 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Exactly as we wanted. So that is how length works. That's the function of the length function. So we're just trying to find a way to learn this in a way that it will actually was linked to us to solve the particular problem. So the next thing we're going to do, sorry if I might be rushing, is enumerate. Enumerate in Python is very, very essential. In Python, when looking over sequences, we might need the index of a current iteration, like a current kind of loop, a cycle. You might want to get a particular word index of a particular word cycle. So we need an enumerate function. It is very, very important. The function of enumerate is to get the index. You might ask, what is index? Index is a way of locating characters in Python. And we said that index begins with what? It starts from what? Guys, remember when we want to check the index of a particular number or a list, what does it start with? Does it start with 1? Does it start with 0? Does it start with -1 when you are looking at the index of Python?
0.
It starts with
0. Starts with 0. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 until it gets to. So that is the work of enumerate. It gets the index of the particular. That's one of its functions, is to get the index of what the particular kind of iteration. So what the first thing we want to do is to go straight and see how we can try to remove that dash in our work. So the first thing, we just go back and let's see. Remember how we did it? We defined an empty string, we did this and did a whole lot of things. So please, guys, let's pay attention to this. It's very important that we get this particular concept. So let's see how we can make it work. Let's make it happen. Okay. So we're getting there, and let's see. So the first thing we want to do is to define the user input. Definitely, we're going to ask the user input. Let's see if we did that already before. Okay. So this is what we did, user input. And so I'm just going to copy this first two. So this first two, let me just copy this first. I can decide to even copy this other one as well. We did it in the last class, so let's go. Let's just paste it here. So user input is equals to, please enter text, new input. Remember when we said that we always want to find a new, just like trying to say like a standard that we want to use in that particular string. This is an empty, line 2 is an empty string, which shows that we can add other string characters inside of it, as we showed in different examples of when we're trying to solve numbers. We added a particular one known as summation. And by the time we looked at that summation, we saw that, where is that summation that we did the other time? We did a particular summation. The summation is equals to 0. We gave it as a default of 0 so that we can add things to it. So that's the same thing we're having here in this concept of strings. And that's why we define an empty string. So the next thing we're going to look at is, how can we now use this enumerate inside the iteration, inside the looping? That's why we are going to line 3. It's very, very important. So the very first thing we're going to do is what? So we're going to do what? Please pay attention. It's going to be for index. For index, comma. That means we are looking at two things now. Index and what? The letter itself. The index and the letter itself. Each of the letters is representing each of the what? Each of the values of the letters. Fix yourself. Is that fix yourself. So letter here, remember when we were doing it, we can decide to say for I in this. So this letter here represents each of the elements of the user input. For example, if the user inputted like Asbion, each of the letter, that's A, represents letter R,
Sorry,
represents
please,
the
I can't
letter.
hear you. I don't use my net.
Hello, can other people hear me?
You can hear. I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you clearly. Yes, maybe it's his network.
Okay. Mr. Sunday, please try and fix that up. Okay, so for index means that each of the words, the letter has an index that is starting from 0, 1, 2, 3 till we get to a particular one in which the user had inputted. So the next thing we're going to do is please try as much as possible to always keep yourself muted. Okay, so now for index, comma letter in enumerate. So this is when you now bring it in and enumerate. And what are you enumerating? Inside what? The particular word user Okay. So by the time we do that, the next thing we want to do is to do what? Is to concatenate the what? The letter itself. How can we concatenate the letter itself?
Please, sir, can I see your screen?
Okay. I think it's from your end.
You can see on the screen. I think it's network.
And once you have things like that, please just log out and come back in. Okay. So what we're going to do right now is to do what? Inside this particular new input, we will start adding letters, we'll start adding values, we'll start adding values to it. We'll start adding values to that particular new input that is an empty string. So the very first thing we want to do is to add letters to it. So we can just say new underscore input equals to what? Plus equals to what? Letter. Plus, by when we use the short form complex addition kind of. So we add it again and again. So the first thing we want to add is what? Let's try and add letter. Let's try and add letter. So anything that comes inside this particular one, inside this new underscore input, will definitely be what? Letter. Now, this is when we want to find a way to solve that particular incidence of what? If there's a dash outside the last word letter. So what we are going to do is, if this is the last index, if a particular letter is the last index, this is what you should do. So if index is less than the length, let me just put it in a way you will get it here. And why is it? Okay, so enter. So inside that particular column, say if the index is what? Is less than what? The length of what? Of the user what? Input. The user what? Input. Then what should you do? It means that definitely the index here we are starting from is 0, 1, 2. Maybe for example, let's say the letters is maybe like 6 characters. So if index is what? If that particular index definitely is going to be what? 0, starting from 0 to when it gets to 5. Then also length will also be what? The same thing. It will be definitely to be seen, but both of them are the same. Please mute yourself. So by the time you get to this particular, it means that anytime this particular condition is what is met, this is what you should do. So anytime we get index, that's index is from 0 to, let's say we have a letter that we have put in, maybe there are 6. So if index is less than length, which is what we are going to say -1. For example, if this particular one was 6, definitely this other one was 6, and this particular one is what? Minus, we're going to subtract 1 from it. So anything that we have is going to be what? Minus. So if this one was 6 at this side, and this particular one now was already 6, but now because of what we want to do, we want to try as much as possible to do what? To remove this particular what? This particular dash or any particular character in which you did. So for us to make sure that this condition is actually satisfied, this is what I want you to do. So if a particular thing is less than the length minus already, which I'm going to give you several examples of how we can definitely use what? That particular minus, which originally this one now becomes what? 5. So once it does that, automatically, once you are creating this particular dash inside the new input, it will not be involved at the last index of that particular word letter. So let's see. So definitely we're supposed to have added, I've made a mistake right now. We're supposed to have added a colon. So by the time we do this, we're going to say new inputs already that is already given with letters. Already, it has already been given with letters. If you remember what we did on line 4, please, I'll get to answer you. Let me just finish this concept right now. Who wants to ask the question? Let me just finish this concept right now. So by the time we said new underscore inputs, now we have added letters already. Now the next thing we want to do is what? Is now the special characters. So plus equals to what? What are the special characters we're adding? Definitely, let's try. Well, we started with dash, so let's just try. So anything that the user is going to input, we're going to make that happen. So by the time we are done with this, what are we going to do? Anything that is happening, we have said that is happening in that loop. Yes, we are interested, but anything that is done, we just want to leave the loop and come out of it, and let's see the actual result. So we're going to print what? We're going to print the new input, because that's where everything happens. That's where all the manipulations happen. So by the time we do this and we decide to run this, and let's put axion again. So let's put axion again, and let's see. So guys, you can see now the sign here does what? Goes away at the end of the particular word letter N. So what happens here? Exactly what I just told you. If this particular one is like, if this condition is actually true, this is what I want you to do for the new input. So Mr. Funso, at this particular point, I would like you to ask your question at this particular point. Mr. Funso, please ask your question, then Mr. Sunday will go forward.
Okay.
As well.
Yeah. Go back to line 3.
Okay, sir.
Going back to line 3. For index, comma, I want to know the purpose of that comma.
The purpose of the comma is trying to tell you that there are two things that we are looking at right now. We are looking at the index, and we're also looking at the letter, all of them inside that particular word looping, inside the loop. As it is moving in each of the cycle, we are looking at two things. The letter, which is different letters of the user input, and also the index in which you're also looping. That means if letter is A, it means that the index is 0. If letter is R, it means that the index is 1. If letter is T, it means that the index is 2. Just like that, as it's looping. That's what we are now using to do what? To find the length, the if index less than length, user input minus 1.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Sunday. Okay, I saw Mr. Sunday's hand first.
Okay, please go to the code again. Like really, the network was when you are explaining. So the line 5. Okay. I was really disturbed by the network, so I don't really understand that line 5. What is doing? Then after we now add that what is it called? The dash or underscore. I don't know. After we now add that dash to it, I think that one that we added the dash, I understand, but that's line 5. What is really doing?
Okay. This is what. Let me make it. Okay, Mr. Cole. Let me also hear from you so that we'll just bombard everything at once.
Okay. Michael, please go back to the code.
Okay.
My question is it not possible to do it the way you did it before, then you delete the last character, that's the last dash? Is it not possible to do this in another way?
Yes, it definitely is. Yes, there are different ways to work here with this particular concept. But what I want to use now is try to make sure that I integrate learn. I want to use this concept to integrate learn and also integrate learn and also enumerate. In advance, when you get advanced, you'll definitely see something like what we call scraping this, like using rejects. There's what we call regular expression, which at the end of the list, you just decide to remove the last character of a particular word string using rejects. That's regular expression in Python. That one is advanced for you right now. But what I want to use right now is just trying to make use of learn and the word enumerate so that we can actually see how we practical.
Okay.
That's what I want to do right now. I'm going to go step by step again and try to make you understand the concept of this particular minus one. So let me set a cell and let's see something different. So let me check something like this. Let's see len. I want to find the length of a particular thing, and let me see. Let me use adjoint. Let me still use adjoint. So now, if you want to find the length of this particular adjoint, please mute yourself wherever you are. So by the time you do this, the length of adjoint here definitely is going to be what? Is definitely going to be what? 7. But if you decide to add -1 to this, when you add -1 to this, definitely is going to give you what? 6. So that's the same concept we are looking at here. It means that anytime that the length of this particular definitely is supposed to have been the same, but anytime the user input gives a particular function, a particular input here, and let's say we are using let's say it's a 7-character kind of word right now, definitely 7-character. So by the time it gets to this point, what we want to say that once it is less than this new input should not, the value should not be added to the last a letter in this particular word advion. That is what I'm trying to explain here. So basically, that's what it does. I'm seeing some question. Okay. Someone is saying, what does plus equals means? Okay. Is there anybody that wants to answer that? Mr. Francis just said something. What does plus equals mean? He has been seeing it. It seems it's like magic. Anybody that wants to try it out? Anybody that wants to, we have been doing something like that so far. Anybody that wants to help out? Anybody? Okay. Mr. Sunday, you want to try it out? You want to help? He's asking what the plus equals
Okay.
mean.
Thank you for the explanation. I now understand the conditions.
Okay, you understand. Okay,
So
very
once the that condition is in place, that is when we add the what's it called? The dash. So once
yes,
it is left,
it will only add it to the index, this particular index that is actually what this n. It doesn't attach the what they call it, the special character to the last what letter. That's what it means.
yes. Okay, so for the plus equals to is just a method of incrementing our
Yes,
number.
yes,
So
yes,
we
incrementing our
can,
numbers.
let's say the what you are adding, then plus the what's it called, the former new. Let's go back to it so that I can see the name.
No, I want to show him some. I want to go back to the previous code that we have been doing.
Okay.
So let's you see something. So so you can see what happened here in the while loop. X is equals to 1, while x is less than or equals to 20. If this is this, what you should do? This x plus equals to 1 means that as it is going through each iteration, each looping, it's adding what plus 1 to it. That means if the first iteration, the first looping was what 1, the next one is going to be 2. The next one is going to be 3. But if you change this to 2, after the first iteration that is 1, the next one is going to be what? 3. The next one is going to be 5. The next one is going to be what? 7. Just like that. That's what it means. The same thing with minus. If we had put minus here, we could have done the same. That means after each illustration, the next one is going to be minus of that particular number. So that's what I can say right now. I don't know if you understand it, Mr. Francis. Mr. Francis, you understand? Is he here with us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Thanks.
Okay, and we had done that previously in the classes as went on. So at this particular point, if there are no questions, please, I would like to say we have to run away tonight. Is there any other questions? Please, if you have any questions, let me know. Okay, Medion, okay. Medion is asking, I'm very sure of this question right now. Okay. Medion, you have the floor. I can't hear you. You're not audible enough.
My speaker.
At some points, I could hear you.
Okay, please, I want to ask about this enumerate method. Is it method or whatever function here?
Okay.
Yes. So I decided to rearrange the positions. I put in letter before index, and then the result was that I can't concatenate a string with an integer. So does it mean that for every time you use the enumerate word, the index must go first before the letter?
Yes, exactly. I think that's what he's trying to tell you.
Okay.
Except
So what does
there
it
is another. Hello.
Yes. Please, I'd
You
like
must
to
first
know.
of all you must first of all know the index of a particular thing before you move. Before as far as the index happens, index is more of like I need to know this before you even start what you're doing.
Okay.
Like the only way I can actually explain to you because I need to know that this is my position before you come in.
Okay. I understand. Thank you very much.
I thought you were going to ask me why the time. Why am I rushing to?
No.
Okay, Mr. Ko.
Okay, I just want you to shed more light on the enumerate. What does it actually do?
Okay, enumerate. The function of enumerate we have already said from the very beginning is to do what? To get the index. If this enumerate is not here, there's no need of us putting this for index. The enumerate is to get the index. Like, let me show you something right now. Let me show you something. I think it's a very practical case now. Let me show you something. So, for index, let me use for index, comma, letter, let's use letter as the thing we want to do in enumerate. So enumerate. Now, what are we going want to enumerate? Let's use Python. Let's use Python. Now, if we run this now, and definitely we're going to end with the colon, enter, and we say print. We are printing what? Let's print the word, let's print the index. Let's print the word index. So by the time we run this now, you can see that it comes out as 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Without enumerate, this will not happen.
Okay.
Without enumerate, this will definitely not happen. So it was because of that enumerate of this index. That's what we now use to solve this in comparing index and what length, and we got to find a way to eliminate this dash that was supposed to be in the last letter. So that's the function of enumerate, to bring out what, to get the index of a particular word, set of input from the user, or maybe a defined letter, just like Python here that we have done. Don't worry, we're going to see a lot
Okay,
of index
thank you.
examples in the next ones and so on.
So if, sorry, please, if you remove the enumerate now, will it not work at all? Like, what will it give
To
us?
show you, it will try it out. I love these things. I love these things. So let's go. Everybody on your hand is still up. You still want a question? Okay. Okay. So should we leave it like this? Was this what you're saying, Mr. Sunday?
Yes.
Okay. So value error, not enough values to unpack. Okay. So that's what he's trying to tell you, that that's a function of the enumerate. So you put index, you put letter. It does not have anything to tell you to how far. What should I do? It does not have what the enough value, enough things, what it needs to do or bring this thing outside one after the other.
Okay. Because like really I'm looking at it like in the case of keys and values.
And
So like,
values, I understand.
so in dictionary, that is why I'm just
yes. If you bring out this, it will actually work for you at some point, but it will not give you, it will not bring out the index here, because this index here is more of like, I can name this index anything.
okay.
This thing could be anything. It's not like a predefined this thing. I could name it anything. I could also name this letter anything. But the only thing is just trying to say that this particular, the first one here is for what? Is for index. The other one here is for what? The value of the word, each of the letters in which you're putting from the, or the user input.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So at this particular point, I would like to say we are done for tonight's class, and please, it is very obvious, and not that it's very obvious of where I'm going, but we're actually, I told you in the next class we're going to look at the learn and the enumerate, and so far nobody has asked any questions, and I believe you guys have gotten the whole idea of enumerate. And if you do not, please let me know now. Let me see how far we can solve it before I run away. Okay, without wasting much of our time, I would like to say thank you for joining in, and keep on learning, keep practicing. All right.